Hello everyone, first news update for 12th of May. Now it's about 9 o'clock in the morning Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and I really hope you'll find this episode informative and useful. And if so, please don't forget to click that like button and leave some commentary. It will help to deal with the algorithm, and even better if you can switch from YouTube to Rumble for next 30, 35, 40 minutes. And if you can watch this episode there on Rumble, because YouTube's algorithm is just too aggressive, by the way. And I really want to develop my channel on Rumble as much as possible. And anyways, if you can, please do it. If you don't, then okay. A link is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment to my Rumble channel. That's been said, let's go through some news now. And of course, all the media outlets worldwide, or majority, and the public that pays attention to this Ukrainian crisis is awaiting how will situation develop now in regards to latest Russian proposal of direct talks between Moscow and Kiev, as an alternative to their nonsensical idea of globalists and globalist puppet regimes in Europe and elsewhere about 30-day ceasefire first and negotiations after, which is, truly makes no sense, right? Usually it's always the other way around. You have some sort of negotiations first, you are learning positions of each other, and then if it's possible, to further assist possible de-escalation, you might agree on ceasefire, temporary or on long term, to enhance basically further negotiations. But it's never other way around, just to declare ceasefire, without any infrastructure in place that will monitor the ceasefire, right? Especially in this particular case, when we all understand that if Moscow would agree for whatever reason on the 30-day ceasefire, then this pause will be used by globalists and their puppet regimes in a collective West to rearm as much as possible, reorganize their proxies in Kiev and their forces, and also to give a break, extremely necessary at this point, break to Kiev regime's forces that are on the edge of collapse on many sectors of the front line. But anyways, Russian president proposed direct talks with the Kiev that could start on 15th of May in Istanbul. And yesterday, President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin and President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan had a phone conversation, and the Turkish side expressed their readiness to facilitate basically negotiations between Moscow and Kiev, which is okay. Good gesture from Turkey. And basically, if negotiations will take place, that will be kind of continuation of the process that has started in 2022, when Moscow and Kiev were engaged in direct talks. Some preliminary agreements were even reached, and many people were hoping that the escalation is about to happen. But unfortunately, globalists had very different plans, different ideas, and they sent their representatives from different puppet regimes that they have in Europe and the US at the time, and they managed quite successfully, unfortunately, to derail these talks on the de-escalation between Kiev and Moscow. We all remember Boris Johnson, at the time Prime Minister of UK, went to Kiev especially to derail these talks. Also, reports are that Biden's administration in 2022 also sent director of the CIA and high-ranking officials from Pentagon and State Department to do the same, to derail these talks, and they were promising all sorts of things to Kiev regime, including reassurances that Kiev regime would be able to defeat Russia on the battlefield. That's reports that are coming in, by the way. That's rumors that are circulating on the internet, right? But anyways, unfortunately, globalists did manage to derail these talks, and since then, hostilities were only escalating. and this former Soviet Republic, Ukraine, were losing more and more of its people, and more and more destruction was obviously occurring as a result of high intensity conflict. And all this could be avoided if Kiev agreed in 2022 to de-escalate. But anyways, we are now in 2025, isn't it? And Russia yet again tries to de-escalate, but it's not gonna be easy, because globalists once again opposing Russian initiatives. And already yesterday, leadership of France, Germany, Poland, UK, some other countries that are controlled by globalists expressed their opposition to Russian idea, and they are still pushing this nonsensical narrative of 30-day ceasefire first and then negotiations. And obviously, I mean, Kiev regime, their proxy in Kiev, is on the same position. At least that was the case yesterday. And it's not just these European puppet regimes of the globalists, but also official representative of Trump, I mean, special envoy of Trump, get involved in all these discussions. And he wrote on his social page that he is in complete support of this 30-day ceasefire first and the negotiations after. And I had just one question: was Kellogg expressing his own personal opinion, or this was the opinion of U.S. administration, official stand of U.S. administration? I spoke about it during the live stream yesterday, live stream community chat on YouTube. And if you have not seen, by the way, if you will have time, check out that video. It was a good conversation, as it is always in real time. And well, later on, once I ended the stream, of course, I started checking the latest reports on some major developments, and I saw Trump's post in his True Social account about his own stance on this Russian proposal of direct talks, and he basically called Zelensky to agree on negotiations immediately. And this is, by the way, and obviously Russian media paid attention to it. I mean, not just RIA Novosti in this particular case, but many other media outlets. And this is the post, by the way, of US President Donald Trump. Let's go through it. So President Putin, according to Trump, of Russia, President Putin of Russia does not want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine. And this statement is factually incorrect. Obviously, Russian president never said that he is against a ceasefire with Ukraine or their masters. What Russian president said is that Moscow is ready for direct talks to see if there is a possibility to go any further. But president never expressed, Russian president never said that Russia is against ceasefire. No, Russia is for ceasefire, for the escalation, for end of this conflict. And to achieve this, obviously, talks have to take place first, right? Some agreements have to be reached. And some instruments have to be created to monitor, to make sure that agreements that are reached will be implemented, right? If we are serious about it. That's how things work. So therefore, Donald Trump is factually incorrect while saying that, Russia does not want to have a ceasefire. But anyways, let's pass on that and continue. But rather wants, he's talking about Russian president, rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to their bloodbath. And yet again, Trump is misleading his audience while making such a statement. Putin didn't say that he personally will travel to Turkey to meet with the representatives of Kiev regime. He said that talks might take place between Moscow and Kiev in Turkey on 15th of May. And who will be in delegations to conduct these talks? That's a whole different story, right? Anyways, Trump continues to say that Ukraine should agree to this immediately. At least they will be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible, and if it is not, European leaders and the US will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly, according to Trump. And he also went to say that, and this is quote, "I'm starting to doubt that Ukraine will make a deal with Putin, who's too busy celebrating the victory of World War II, which could not have been won, not even close, without the United States of America. Have the meeting now." So I don't know what is wrong with Trump, by the way. I mean, why would he yet again have to talk about World War II that he has no idea about? And first of all, 9th of May is a celebration of not the end of World War II. World War II ended a little late. 9th of May in Russia is a celebration of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. Defeat of Nazi Germany and its allies, right? War with Japan did continue for some time after Germany was defeated, but I'm not sure Trump even knows this. So anyways, well, that's position, we can say official position of US administration, that they are basically supporting Trump personally, and I guess whatever forces are behind him. They are supporting this idea of Russian president to hold direct talks between representatives of Moscow and Turkey in Moscow and Ukraine in Turkey. And dear friends, yesterday in the first update and in the second update, basically during the live stream, I did said that while offering these direct talks with the Kiev regime, Russian president definitely created a sort of unique opportunity for the US administration to use this as an off-ramp, to use a potential refusal of Kiev regime to talk with Russia as an off-ramp to basically pull out US from this proxy war and just walk away, right? And I was wondering if leadership of US will see this opening for them. And, I become a bit skeptical when I read the statement of Kellogg while he was supporting globalists. But then when I see this post of Trump himself, I become a little more hopeful that maybe US leadership and forces that are in charge there see this opportunity that can be used as off-ramp, right? To just pull out their country from this proxy war, have direct talks with Moscow, and during these talks agree on some serious concessions before Russia to make sure that Russia will not seek revenge on US, at least on a state level, and then to move on, right? And maybe, dear friends, that's exactly what US leadership will do, potentially. I do understand that globalists have a stronger presence inside US also. They are very capable of continuous pressure on the US administration. They have a lot of assets for that inside US and outside of US. But theoretically speaking, at least, I think it is a possibility that forces that are in charge there in US, at least for now, can use this unique opportunity basically to pull out US from this proxy war, reach some agreements with Russia, and then just to focus on some other stuff. Will they use this opportunity? That's a whole different question, whole different story. But statement of Trump may be seen as an indicator that at least they are realizing that there is an opportunity there, right? But dear friends, I hope you like my work and want to help preserve this independent media project. And if so, let me go through several means that can be used for assistance. First is a PayPal platform. Once you click on PayPal link under my videos in description box and in the pinned comment, this account will open, which belongs to my wife, Anna Philipson Caballero. So feel free to donate through this account. Second way is a Boosty platform where you can send a tip or donate, which is basically the same. And also you can become a Patreon for the project. You can subscribe to my page while choosing your level of support. Third way is a Patreon platform where I already have 370 extra content videos. You can also choose your level of monthly support from $5 to 10, 20, 50, 100 and become a Patreon, or you can use another feature that Patreon has, which is access to each videos for a certain amount of money. Now this is $3, so you can access to any video for $3. Relatively new feature that Patreon adopted, and it might be helpful also if for whatever reason you don't want to become a monthly supporter. And there is another way, which is a Rumble platform, dear friends. Whenever I have a pre-planned live stream or live stream is on air, you can become a premium subscriber. You can give premium subscription to other members of the community, or you can use a rant feature that Rumble has, which is basically similar to super chat on YouTube. All the links, dear friends, all the links to all these platforms that I just show you are under my videos in the description box and in the pinned comments, including address to crypto wallet. I hope this video will be useful in case you are considering support for my work and this media project. Many thanks to all the members of our community who already supported. Have a wonderful day and take care. When it comes to this Russian initiative itself and the reaction of Kiev regime, initially, as I said, Zelensky and his criminal associates were very critical of this idea. They opposed it straight away, together with their European masters, their globalist masters. But when Trump posted his take on the situation, Zelensky made an additional statement, and he said that he set conditions basically for direct talks with Putin. He went on clown show. He presented clown show and start speculating that he himself is ready to go to Turkey to meet with Putin if Putin will agree on this 30-day ceasefire and that kind of stuff. Who the hell are you, man? Is Zelensky really start believing that he is someone? He is a freaking nobody, man. And when he gonna realize this? He's using too much of this white powder, man. He is getting crazy, for sure. Anyways, Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky has stated he is ready to personally meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Turkey on Thursday, 15th of May, but only if Moscow first agrees to a truce, this 30-day nonsensical ceasefire idea. His statement came in response to Russia's proposal to begin peace talks without preconditions, and this statement is basically a reaction on Trump's post, by the way, on True Social, because earlier in the day he was saying that he's absolutely against this direct talks. He was all about this 30-day ceasefire because he is desperate, by the way, and his Western masters are desperate for this break. They want to break, 30-day break, by the way, that they're not gonna get. So that's what Zelensky said after Trump tweeted or posted his thoughts about this whole process. And of course, this is a distraction. This is attempt of Zelensky to distract attention from main issues. because of course Russia will not agree on 30-day ceasefire. It makes no sense for Russia, right? But when it comes to direct talks, yet again, the Russian president didn't say that he will go in Turkey to meet with Zelensky. Why would he? I mean, he is a busy man, by the way. He has huge country to run, right? He has no time to travel to Turkey to see some acting of some mediocre comedian, by the way, that Zelensky is, right? So why would he spend any time on that? I mean, let's be real here. But Russia can actually send delegation, and most likely will send delegation, which will wait there in Istanbul for Ukrainian counterparts. If they will arrive, talks will take place. If they don't, then, well, okay. We will know. We will have more indicators that all these talks about the escalation on part of Kiev regime and their globalist masters is just a sort of gameplay and nothing more, nothing serious. RT is also reporting that Moscow did outlines basis for the peace negotiations with Kiev. So peace negotiations with Ukraine should consider both their current realities on the ground and the groundwork laid during the 2022 Istanbul talks. An aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov has stated he made the remarks after Russian President Vladimir Putin offered Kiev the opportunity to resume direct talks without any preconditions. Speaking in the early hours of Sunday, Putin proposed a new round of talks that would take place on May 15 in Istanbul. Ushakov told Russia's Channel 1 that any peace talks with Ukraine should take into account their points that were worked out by their sides during the 2022 negotiations, which Kiev unilaterally walked away from. The real situation on the ground should obviously be considered as well, he added. So, okay, I mean, Russian position is quite clear, isn't it? Quite clear. Let's have a talk. We have some ground for that already, because in 2022 we already had negotiations. Now we are the current realities on the ground, discuss some additional topics, and let's move forward. Let's de-escalate if you want to. But if you don't, then at least we will know that you are not serious. That's Moscow's stand, right? Quite understandable, quite clear and direct. But as I said, dear friends, globalists are not about the escalation. They are not yet ready, psychologically, I guess, to acknowledge that they lost this proxy war against Russia. And as I said, all their puppet regimes in collective West and in the public field are criticizing Russia's proposal, and at the same time are demanding this 30-day ceasefire, which will never happen, right? At least before negotiations will take place. And until guarantees are in the place that this 30-day ceasefire, if Russia will agree on that after negotiations, would not be used by globalists and globalist control regimes to reorganize their proxy regime in Kiev and to give a break basically to Kiev regime's forces. And EU, by the way, which is also controlled by globalists, obviously, is on the same page. They're also against direct talks between Moscow and Kiev, and are demanding 30-day ceasefire first. Statements about it was made in Brussels. But yet again, at this point, I don't think Russia really cares about any opinions, any positions of Brussels, London, Paris, Berlin, or Warsaw, by the way. I mean, these are irrelevant capitals in loosely relevant European part of Eurasian continent, and therefore, me as a blogger might pay some, or citizen journalist might pay some attention to these statements from these capitals, but on a ground scale, of course, they mean nothing. Not for Moscow, anyways, right? There are few capitals in this world that really do matter, opinion of which. Rest, rest should realize where their true position is and stop acting if they are something of importance. They are not. I mean, it is what it is, right? Vzglyad newspaper, meanwhile, is reporting that Hungary confirms cancellation of talks with Ukraine over spy scandal. So Hungarian authorities have cancelled a meeting with Ukraine on issues of Hungarian minority in Transcarpathia aimed accusations of espionage by Kiev. State Secretary of Hungarian Foreign Ministry, Levente Magyar, announced the cancellation of talks with Ukraine on the issue of Hungarian national minority in Zakarpattia, scheduled for May 12. The reason was that 3 days before the meeting, Ukrainian side brought charges of espionage against two former military personnel, declaring their work for Hungary and immediately disclosing this in their media. So, Kiev regime basically escalated with Budapest, and I think Orban's government has no nerve, by the way, to spend on these bloody clowns in Kiev, Zelensky, Melensky, and the rest of the garbage, and they just walked away from these talks. Hungary's government knows perfectly well it's only a matter of time, and they will reclaim Transcarpathia, that used to be part of Hungary, by the way, before First World War, and I think historical justice will be served if and when Hungary will do that. Transcarpathia should be part of Hungary, by the way. That's how I see the things, right? Ethnic Hungarians are living there, as they were living there during the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they should rejoin their fellow Hungarians in the borders of Hungary. And this will happen. This will happen, only a matter of time. So I can understand why Orban's governments don't want to spend no time on these freaking animals that are put in charge in Kiev by the globalists. Yet again, Zelensky, Melensky, and the rest of their human scum. But information itself interesting, just to highlight that there is significant tensions in place between Budapest and the Kiev regime. The Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that Russian Security Council invites more than 150 countries to a security forum that will take place in Russia. It's going to be a big forum, by the way, for sure. The press service of the Security Council of the Russia reported that invitations to the forum, which will be held from May 27th to 29th, 2025 in Moscow, were sent to more than 150 countries, including the CIS, CSTO, EAEU, CSO, and representatives of more than 20 international organizations. TASS reports their event will be chaired by Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu. Meeting is expected to discuss issues related to international cooperation in the field of security. The organizers note that the forum serves as an international platform for exchanging opinions on current topics related to security, as well as for strengthening cooperation between partner countries in the fight against terrorism, extremism, transnational crime, and drug trafficking. So, well, security forum, by the way, that is going to be quite representative. I have no doubts about that. Also, interesting news that Trump, president of US, announced a gesture of good faith by Hamas. So Hamas has agreed to release Edan Alexander, 21-year-old Israeli-American soldier, and last known living U.S. hostage held in Gaza following negotiations with the United States. President Donald Trump has announced Alexander was abducted during the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on October 7, 2023, which resulted in over 1,200 deaths and the capture of approximately 250 hostages. In a statement on Sunday, Hamas said that Alexander would be released as a part of efforts towards the ceasefire and facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza. And well, if this person is not yet released, I have not seen evidence of that yet. Probably this person will be released in coming hours, most likely. All right, and announcement, it is interesting that announcement about it is coming not from Israeli government, but from US president, which is at least strange, right? I wouldn't be surprised at all if Israeli government was not even involved in these talks. I don't know. And also, dear friends, as I said few times before, more media outlets are reporting about possibility that Trump could recognize Palestine as a state. US President Donald Trump could formally recognize the state of Palestine at the upcoming Gulf US summit in Saudi Arabia, the news outlet Media Line has reported, citing unnamed diplomatic sources. Palestine, by the way, is recognized as a sovereign nation by 147 countries. It's not that like no one has recognized Palestine until now. I mean, 147 countries did, including Russia. But US recognition, which will not really change much on the ground, definitely can be used by the Gulf states or by the majority Sunni Muslim countries in the Middle East as a justification for staying neutral or to even assist US and Israel and potentially a number of their allies when they will start a military operation against Iran. That's what is happening here, by the way, in my personal opinion. Number of Western propaganda outlets are pushing false narrative now that relationships between US administration and Netanyahu's regime is breaking down, and you know, Trump is not happy with Netanyahu and that kind of stuff, which is false, by the way. I would never ever believe that US political class, including administration that is brought and paid by Israeli lobby, will dare to go against Zionists or the Israeli regime. It's just not happening. So therefore, if Trump will recognize Palestine, that would be just a part of some bigger plan, right? And obviously, to attack Iran, US, Israel, and the rest of the countries that will join them will need either neutrality of the Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Turkey, and I mean, all of them, basically, either neutrality from them, or in some cases even assistance. For example, you know, airspace of these countries to be used for logistics and for strikes on Iran. And governments in these Middle Eastern countries will be in a very difficult situation if they will agree on that, because their position is already quite fragile, because people, local population is quite unhappy because these countries basically did almost nothing to help Palestinian people, right? And now if even though Iran is a Shiite Muslim country, majority Shiite, still, by the way, it's a Muslim country, right? And if these Middle Eastern countries will now allow or assist a US-led or Israeli-led coalition to attack Iran, that will further jeopardize power of local elites, right? And they will need to present some sort of victory to public to calm things down. And this potential step from US to recognize state of Palestine can be that victory. This definitely can be presented to public as a victory. I mean, look, you know, we managed to persuade US to recognize Palestine. This is a huge victory, and therefore now US is engaged in this war with Iran, and what we can do about it. We are not engaged, but they are, and we are just assisting them with their airspace, and they are using bases that they have here, but it's not us, it's them. That's gonna be talking points of leadership there, right? Local governments. I don't think it will work. It will not work, and Iran was very clear that it will consider hostile any country that will provide any assistance to enemies of Iran in case of military aggression. And in any case, very same day that Iran is attacked, obviously Iran will retaliate, and Iran will retaliate big time. Hostilities it will be a regional war, and hostilities will stay not just in the region, but I'm quite sure Iran is well capable to transfer hostilities on US soil too. That should be kept in mind. And the US has dozens and dozens of bases in the Middle East, and all these bases are in range of Iranian missiles. This should be kept in mind also. And yeah, I forgot line of my thoughts, by the way, but it's gonna be total disaster for US anyways. It's gonna be disaster for Middle Eastern countries and global world itself, because global economy gonna suffer tremendously, because very day US, Israel, and some other their potential allies will attack Iran. Obviously, navigation in the Persian Gulf gonna be shut down in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, and the world will lose huge volumes of energy, oil and gas, right? And even though Western ruling class wants this to happen because main buyer of this energy is China, one of the main buyers, let's say, right? And they want to harm China. That's why they are engaged in this activity. That's why they want to provoke regional war. Globalists and their puppet regimes, or the Western ruling class. But they will simultaneously harm the rest of the world too. Because once Persian Gulf is shut down and Hormuz Strait is no longer letting ships in and out of the Gulf, oil prices, gas prices gonna skyrocket, obviously, and that means high inflation, maybe even hyperinflation in certain cases, in certain countries, and huge destruction of supply chain and so on. So it's war in the Middle East. This major war in the Middle East gonna have a huge impact on the world. That's for sure. And I think if UN will get engaged in a war with Iran, that might well become a beginning of the end of US itself. Because they're not going to defeat Iran, by the way. It's just not even theoretically possible, right? Airstrikes would not be enough, for sure. And if they send ground forces to occupy Iran, then, well, that's going to be total disaster for US armed forces, because they are just not ready for high intensity battles, by the way. Iran is at least three times bigger than Iraq, and the Iranian armed forces and Iranian society is on a whole different level when it comes to resisting, right? Because Iran lives through this constant resistance since the Islamic Revolution, right? So it is what it is, by the way. Let's see if my reading of the big picture is correct. But unfortunately, I think US is on board with Netanyahu's regime, with Zionists, on the topic of attacking Iran. And Trump himself, just yesterday or day before, posted on his True Social that, military action is back on the table again. Military action against Iran. So why would he emphasize this idea constantly of military action, because they are preparing ground, by the way, and talks that are taking place between Iran and the US are just distraction of the public attention, in my personal opinion. US is not an honest actor in these talks, and I do understand that Iran wants to avoid war, and therefore Iran is engaged in diplomatic activity, and Iran truly wants to de-escalate because they don't want no war, by the way. They are ready for it. They will fight and do whatever is necessary to defend themselves, but they don't want it, right? They don't want war to happen in the first place. And that's why Iranian delegation is engaged in the talks in Oman, for example. Yesterday, fourth round of these talks took place. And Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, stated that her fifth round of talks is also already scheduled. But yet again, I don't think US is an honest actor in these talks. They are just messing around, so that afterwards, when they will walk away from these talks, they will be in a position to say, you know what, we tried diplomatically, it didn't work, and now we have to use their other means, military means, right? That's the game plan that US and this anti-Iranian coalition has. And they will walk away, by the way, at one point, because US demands are basically, in many cases, as far as I understand, they're especially built to be unacceptable for Iran. And we have a statement, for example, from Iran's president, Pezeshkian. Iran in no way accepts the US demand to abandon its peaceful nuclear program in order to hold further talks on the nuclear deal, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian stated. Although, by the way, he also emphasized that Iran is ready to significantly downgrade its uranium enrichment capabilities. But Iran is saying that in no circumstances they will completely get rid of this technology because I guess they want to be fully autonomous when it comes to nuclear energy, right? They have nuclear power plants. They can enrich their own nuclear fuel for these power plants, right? So I can see logic behind it. But yet again, if US was an honest actor, I could even see that Iran is agreeing to dismantle centrifuges, right, that are used to enrich uranium. Because Iran has friends, right? Russia, China, India can't provide with the nuclear fuel. Iran, if necessary. But question is, how Iran can trust US, by the way? How they can trust US? I mean, they will dismantle now these centrifuges. They will agree on that. But day after, Iran will demand, US will demand entire nuclear program to be shut down, because that's the game plan of US. They will come up with their demands that eventually Iran would not be able to agree upon. That's the whole reasoning behind these talks, because Washington wants to have opportunity to say at one point that, we tried diplomatically, it did not work. So therefore, they will constantly come up with their demands that at some point will be completely unacceptable for Iran. And this is it for today's first update. Hopefully you will find it informative and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. If you have not yet, it might really help to deal with the algorithm and to reach wider audience. And in case you want to support my work and this independent media project of mine, you can use several means for that. Check out description box and pinned comment for that. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.